Hello everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Technology in the Classroom. Can you believe it? We're in week 4, so we're kind of hit that halfway mark. Now, after reading your blog posts and participating in the discussions in Edmodo, I've kind of decided to look at week 4 as being one of those, let's kind of catch our breath now. There was one comment that was made by some of you in Edmodo that, kind of says that you feel overwhelmed and you're like, we realize this is a 7-week course instead of a full semester type course, but to be honest with you, the pace and the things that we've done here has been no different than what I've done in my face-to-face class. Now, obviously, like I said in week 1, we wouldn't be able to do everything that we do in my face-to-face, so there's fewer things, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at this being like our midterm week. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to kind of touch on what you see here on the screen, the International Society of Technology and Education. We're going to take a look at the net standards for the teachers and students, since I've mentioned that. But the reason I want to do that is to continue to give you things to think about. The one thing that I'm seeing much better, or seeing a better job of being coming across in your blog posts, is your voice, where I'm able to get a better understanding of your mindset and kind of where you are picturing yourself at this moment. And I think there's some of you that are starting to realize, just by me kind of throwing some stuff out there and letting you explore and kind of look at what other people have to say, you're starting to think about, man, this is kind of overwhelming, and it will be overwhelming. Whether you truly adopt, you partially adopt or not, you're always going to feel overwhelmed. But in this class, like I said, my vision is just to allow you to see some options that are currently being used in classrooms out there. Now, we've done your Voki or a search story to introduce yourselves. We've introduced you to KidBlog as far as a resource for blogging and putting your thoughts out and reflecting on stuff. We've also started using the Edmodo on the social networking side to help kind of keep that in a private garden, walled garden, you could say, but also get you to start thinking who out there can help me through these times, so it's not just me and I'm in this dark corner feeling like the world's coming down on me. And that was the big reason for giving you or introducing you to the PLNs. Now, some of you dove in deeper than what I intended for you to do. When I showed you Plurk or Skype or Twitter, those Ning environments there, I didn't expect you to jump into all of them. I started out with Twitter. I was in Twitter for 2 years before I even dwelled into Plurk. So, just kind of find one and kind of give it a feel for a while. You're not going to get a response back from people until you've really started kind of following and making comments or responding to their posts. And then they'll start taking an interest in you and start responding back to you. But that's just my experience and advice that I've given. I've heard from others and heard others explain to that are newbies, as we would say. So give it some time, and it will be an ongoing thing and an ever-growing situation. But let's kind of take a look at the standards, and let's start with the teachers. To get to the teachers, just go to Standards, Nets for Teachers. I will put the PDF file of the Nets for Teachers in the PDF file for Nets for Students in the Moodle environment for reference, for your future reference, and you could download them and save them yourself. But here's just what I want to point out about the teachers. Again, this is the National Educational Technology Standards for teachers. The first one being to facilitate and inspire student learning and creativity. And I'm not going to read all this to you, but it's to give them the opportunity to collaborate and express their ideas. So again, prime example of why I introduce kid blogs and Edmodo to you for that collaboration and reflection tools. The second one here, design and develop a digital age learning experience and assessments. This is going to be kind of that tie-in. I had you complete the Lodi Digital Age Survey and kind of reflect about it and get your thoughts on some of the questions and what it made you think about. And this week you're going to be creating a Google survey. Now I'll show you some examples. We'll create a different tutorial video just on how to create a Google survey and put it in the kid blog. But the big thing is you can use these Google surveys and create them into a self-grading quiz as well. So that way it's not just a survey or a poll, but it's a self-grading quiz to save time for you. We'll also kind of give you, again, a resource page with different stuff out there to explore, like Poll Everywhere, Poll Daddy, and we'll kind of take a look at some of those things. But again, here's your experience and assessments. You know, another thing to take a look at if you're not, if you're not familiar with, is Ruby Star. Now, the Ruby Star is a site where you can go build your own rubrics, and of course, there's tons of sites out there for rubric making, but that's another form of assessment. But also, obviously, you're observing the students in class is another form of assessment. Digital age work and learning. In other words, the key word here is model. In other words, you need to exhibit and be able to have a basic understanding. Will you know all the answers? Absolutely not. Let your students be able to find those answers and then teach that to them, or teach it to other students, or have those students then turn around and share it with you. And you'll earn their respect, and they'll come to truly be more engaged with you in your classroom if they see that they have some input on the content, the process, and the product that comes out of your classroom. 4, promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility. This comes back to, again, those teachable moments that we've talked about in Edmodo, and why I should or should not have Facebook, or no digital footprint compared to a digital footprint. These are the things where we can shelter our students, but once they leave the house and become young adults themselves, if they're so sheltered, they may make that mistake, whereas if they were younger, and back to the Michael Jordan video from last week of, through failure comes success. That's something to be thinking about. And finally, engaging professional growth and leadership. This is why we went through the PLNs and started introducing that to you, again, to talk about and listen and reflect on what others have to share, and from their experiences, positive, negative. But again, everything that we do in this class is geared towards meeting these standards. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll put the PDF for this up. Now let's look at the students. These are the standards that your students should be meeting within your classroom. Now, are they going to do this every day? Most likely not. But this is where you have kind of that guideline. Those objectives kind of can be shaped and molded towards incorporating some of these standards little by little. But creativity and innovation. Well, creativity and innovation, think about you as the student. You had the choice of creating a Voki or a Google search story. There's one thing. Now you're going to get to go be able to create a survey or a self-grading quiz, however you want to take a look at it. And then we're going to be, next week, we'll start looking at the digital storytelling, and that's going to be one of your that's going to be kind of one of your lead into the final type thing. Communication and collaboration, again, back to the Edmodo, the kid blog. Some of you, maybe you like Blogger, who knows. You'll find a site that you feel comfortable with, but the ones, as I said before, we're just introducing to you because they are currently in use in the classroom. Number 3, research and information fluency. Plain strategies to guide inquiry. Do I go to Wikipedia? Do I go to encyclopedia? Do I go out on the web and research experts and then make that contact with those experts and pick their brains with questions? Again, PLN. Critical thinking, problem solving, decision making. Characteristics. Why do I want to follow these folks? How does this resource fit into my classroom instruction? Is it the appropriate one for this lesson? Maybe it's more appropriate for a different lesson. But with this comes, the problem solving and decision making for the students. Again, we can't hold their hands 24/7, 365. Some of this is going to have to be those teachable moments, whether they're a comfortable one or an uncomfortable one. It's going to happen. Digital citizenship. Some of you made comments about cyberbullying, and you're very well on your way with having a solid understanding for it, because yes, it happens. With digital citizenship, though, we've got to decide, are we going to be respectful, polite, or are we going to be kind of that one that just sits over there and wants the needle and try to come across in, for lack of better words, less professional or an unprofessional type comments? Impolite versus polite. So those are some things to think about. And the final one is the technology, operation, and concepts. Just simply how to use the tool. But sometimes by allowing those kids themselves, as we said here, problem solve and make decisions on their own, they're going to figure out how to make those things work. There's going to be times that you can create your own screencast tutorials or show them firsthand in class how to do that. But there's going to be times that you're going to find that the kids get more out of it because they're going to be able to say, wow, look what I found. Can I show you this? This is cool. And those are the moments that are going to make you smile and feel special, because now the kids have really taken ownership into what you're trying to accomplish in your classroom. So again, this week, I'm just wanting to kind of take a step back, let you catch your breath. But these are the reasons that I want you to see we've done some of the stuff, and more things that are upcoming that we'll be doing are, again, meeting these standards for the students and standards for the teachers. So let's take a look now at what we'll have in Moodle. So week 4, under the reading assignments here, basically what I've done is you would just use this, copy and paste this link in here to go visit the site that we're talking about. And let me just bring it up here for you. Now, ScribD is an excellent site that hosts all kind of documents, but the reason I want you to get this is another one of those documents written by a ISTE nationally recognized up-and-coming educator award. This was written by Adam, who's known as EduTecher. He's an excellent resource, an excellent guide, extremely friendly and down-to-earth person, but he just kind of gives you some examples, some from his experience, from comments from his PLN that he's been thinking about and he's reflecting on. But this is more of again, another way of getting you to maybe see the bigger picture, a more clearer understanding of what we're trying to accomplish here. And with that, what we've got you doing here is I just want you to read about that and think some of the stuff that was said in there, and maybe some of the stuff you read in there you may not agree with, but you want to form an opinion and be able to support your opinion, or maybe understand his more through questions, and that would be your survey that you will be creating this week in Google. So let's Again, that was your reading assignment. So it's just reading that stuff to kind of get you thinking back towards the one activity that you're going to have this week, and that's the Google survey. In our discussion, it's 100 points, but it's going to be real simple. I just want you to reflect upon the stuff that we've done to this point. As you see here, judging by what you've written in blog posts and discussions. I want to see how you see some of this stuff fitting in your classroom. How might you use it? Whether it's not Google Reader, but it's the stuff that Bethel had suggested on there with the... So those are some things that I want you to consider. So in all, what I'm just saying here is I just want to be able to hear your reflection and see how things are starting to maybe become a better or more clear in your mind for potential options. And then the final thing, which is going to be basically what I was talking about, your whole culminating project for this week is going to just be a blog post that's going to consist of your Google form survey. And as I said earlier, I'm going to have a little survey video for you to follow, so it's not part of this longer one but separate, so you could always reflect back to it if needed. And it's another one of those situations that in this blog post I want to have an understanding, like it says here, upon completion of your survey, embed it to a blog post. And I want to hear your thoughts about the survey, or how they could be used in class or used by your students to collect data. Again, give me some insight on how you might see this working, or definitely not working at all in your blog post with your survey. But also explain in there, because once you get your survey posted, I'm going to ask my friends on Twitter and Plurk and some of the other PLNs that I have to come contribute and complete your survey. So contribute information on your survey, in other words. And this way you could have their data and kind of start seeing how these things work, and let you on your own shape your own vision for how it may not work for you. So with that, I'm going to just quickly show you something in there. Then I'm going to play a video that maybe some of the video questions might pop in your head from this video that's going to be coming up in a moment. But let's take a look at an example here for you. Here's a quick survey that I just did. It's plain, obviously, but this is school district paper and printing approaches, where it says provide insight. I just did this to see what other schools were doing across the country and all, well, actually globally, because I have some interesting comments in there I'll quickly show you. But this is what my simple form looks like. You don't have, when you create yours, it does not have to be tons of questions, because I'll be honest, I had some kids that asked 10 to 15 questions on their form like this last spring in the face-to-face class, and people said, if you want people to respond, don't ask so many questions. So that's something to think about. I'm not putting a certain limit on there, because if you hadn't already kind of find out now, is this is your creation. You do with it as you feel is the best way of designing it. So once a person completes this, they hit submit, it automatically goes into this spreadsheet in your Google Apps. And as you see here, here's the school district, their city, their state, and their comments about it. Here's California, and we'll just kind of scroll through here a little. Kansas, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, New York, another Kansas, New Jersey, California, Oregon, Nebraska, Kansas, Pennsylvania. So that kind of gives you an idea that it kind of covers a vast area on who all was responding from that. So that kind of gives you something to think about as far as do I want a long survey, short survey, and then again how you can see this stuff. So finally, I want you to kind of sit back and think about this video, and this is talking about learning to change and changing to learn as an educator in education in the 21st century.
The U.S. Department of Commerce ranked 55 industry sectors by their level of IT intensiveness. Education was ranked number 55, the lowest, below coal mining.
For the last 100 years, we've used the industrial narrative. Schools are like factories. It's an administrative process. It's about control and order.
The kids are having a much more stimulating and rich environment outside of schools than they are in school.
Kids are very rich content developers today through their social networking sites. They're big communicators through email, instant messaging, and text messaging, and yet all of those things are banned from their schools.
Every turned off device is potentially a turned off child.
We have to accept as educators that technology is not really a choice. It has created a world. It's just not here to help you teach traditional subjects. It has invented, or has emerged a completely new environment.
It's about relationship. It's about community. It's about connectivity. It's about access.
Children are living now in a different space. They're living in what I call nearly now. And nearly now is that space that they text in, the space that they update their Facebook entries in, the space that they Twitter in, the space that is not quite synchronous. Now, it's a really interesting space because it's not adversarial, it's not pressured. It's a space where people can, it's all the R words, they can reflect and retract and research and repeat. It's a very gentle, I'll tell you what, it's a great world for learning.
If I could remodel a classroom today, I'm not sure it would be a bricks and mortar classroom.
So the student is at the center, and school is just one of the ways and places that they learn. But they also learn through communities, at home, in museums, in libraries, and of course online.
It's about providing the best quality teachers no matter where a student lives and making those bridges.
It's wandering around the city with their cell phones and collecting data that kids will be doing outside of school.
School might be the place where you come together to do joint projects, where you social network, where you do some of the other kinds of enrichment things.
We've got a classroom system when we could have a community system.
It's about opening the door to NASA resources, to the labs that are being developed online at MIT, and connecting these students to the kinds of opportunities that will fundamentally shift their academic experience and make them better prepared not only for college, but for life.
You start with the teacher. If I want my students to be making global connections, then I'm going to give the tools to my teachers first and provide them with opportunities to connect with other teachers around the world or other teachers around the country.
The task here is to give teachers a place where they can swap authentic ingredients and their evidence that those ingredients are safe and tested. Do you know that doesn't exist anywhere in the world? I've just been part of a big project that I think is going to change that and change that radically.
We have to develop a narrative that sustains 21st century learning.
If we simply apply standards, if we simply have a steady regime of standardized testing, that will make things better. When in fact, it is economically actually a foolish idea, because the jobs that these kids in school will be having do not call for this kind of right answer vending machine approach.
There is no child left behind fades away. It enables local creativity and innovations.
They will be doing work that calls on their artistic abilities, that calls on their abilities of synthesis, that calls on their abilities of understanding the context, that calls on their abilities of working in teams, that calls on their abilities in some sense to be multidisciplinary, multilingual, multicultural.
So the coin of the realm is not memorizing the facts that they're going to need to know for the rest of their lives. The coin of the realm will be, do you know how to find information? Do you know how to validate it? Do you know how to synthesize it? Do you know how to leverage it? Do you know how to communicate it? Do you know how to collaborate with it? Do you know how to problem solve with it? That's the new 21st century set of literacies. And it looks a lot different than the model that most of us were raised under.
Now we're looking at a whole different range of schools. We're looking at schools that produce ingenious, collaborative, gregarious, brave children who care about stuff like their culture. And to build schools that do that is a whole another challenge. And around the world, people are testing out the ingredients of what makes that work. And those ingredients are being assembled into some just stunning recipes in different places. It's a very exciting time for learning. It's the death of education, but it's the dawn of learning. That makes me very happy.
Alright, and with that, I just want you to take some time this week, reflect, think about some of the stuff that you have experienced to this point, develop your survey, reflect in the discussions in Edmodo, and have a great week.